No, are we live yet? As we are. Welcome to the Energy Healing Lifestyle Journal Self-Care Challenge. My name is Robin Knott, and I am your host of the channel and the founder of the EnergyHealingSchool.com. As always, I'm going to walk you through my journaling process and share some real-life examples with you. So if you have your journal, I have mine. You can journal with me, right? Don't forget, you can sign up and hop on the Zoom with me live as well, and we can journal together live. That link is in the description, by the way, if you want to sign up and hop on Zoom with me. So how I do my process, get our mindset right, energy healing lifestyle journal, self-care challenge. Self-care for us is an acronym. Today, we are looking at the letter C in self-care. And C stands for communication. My granddaughter's here, by the way, so if I get a little distracted, or if you hear noises too, you know why, right? So C in self-care stands for communication. In my system of Best You, it is the letter Y for you, which stands for your truth. So speaking your truth, the way we communicate, right? Which truth do we speak from? Is it the human ego-ness, or is it our highest truth from the source of unconditional love? All of that is governed by the throat chakra. So we look at throat chakra energy as well. So our journal prompt for today, and I have a couple things to share with you just because I found an article that was quite interesting as well that I want to share. But our journal prompt for today, as an empath, what does avoidance sound like? It could sound silent, but typically it's probably more like mind chatter. I wanted you to think about, I was hoping it would get you thinking about your own self-talk. What's the difference as an empath? Because what do we have a tendency to do? Look outside of ourselves, right? Focus on the people around us. Focus on the emotions we feel outside of us. Focus on the energy, again, outside of us. So really just looking within. However, sometimes we use that focus away from self as an avoidance technique, right? Which is one of those patterns that we want to break in the BU challenge. Just throwing that out there. So if you haven't yet signed up for the BU challenge, it's still in pre-launch mode, which means you can still get half off if you would like. Again, it's not expensive anyway, but might as well, right? Take half off. My gift to you. So those avoidance patterns and why they're not great for us. Now, sometimes there is a healthy level of avoidance, which I actually prefer to call like a pause. Taking a break, right? A healthy break or a pause is different than the type of avoidance that we're addressing here and in the BU challenge, 5-day challenge. So it's also known as cognitive avoidance, meaning it's in our own head, right? It's what we are thinking. It's our own self-talk. What are we saying to ourselves when we're in that cycle pattern behavior of avoidance? And just one thing might be, don't think about that, telling yourself not to think about that. What I found interesting is I was led to do a search, right, which we do sometimes, and it led me to the distracting self with toxic positivity, because I think that's so common sometimes in the spiritual communities, right? So as empaths, as we're trying to find people that have some similar experiences as we do, I want to say like us in a sense, right? We're all unique, but who can relate with us, who we can relate to, where we don't have to feel quite godful. To a degree, we have acceptance in that and love for ourselves, right? I use the word misfit, but to a degree where we can have some connection, right? So again, there's a level of distracting ourselves that's healthy, but there's also a level that's not, just like positivity. So there might be some debate, and that's okay. If you totally feel like this does not resonate with you, that's fine. Just scroll over it, listen past it, take what you need, leave the rest kind of thing, right? because it would conflict with manifesting in a sense. Because that's what I thought of when I saw this article. I'm like, but that's like the opposite of manifesting. Okay, I can't do both, honey. I'm sorry. What were you trying to show me? Cute. Grandma can't multitask. Um, or that idea of good vibes only, right? Keep it positive. Change the way you're thinking. Change the way you're thinking. I don't disagree with that. When we have those patterns that aren't serving us anymore, staying stuck in those patterns, we definitely want to break that cycle and change the way that we think, right? Change that negative to a positive, teaching ourselves a different way of thinking, reprogramming our thought processes. I definitely agree with that. However, there are times when sometimes something is negative, quote unquote negative. It's how we define it, it's how we describe it. And that's okay. So remember, it's been a while, but I used to say before, and I'll say it again, let's normalize emotions. Let's normalize having a human experience. Let's normalize having certain emotions about that human experience. So instead of having that judge, that inner critic, wanting to now say, you were thinking negative, that's such a terrible thing. Can we not do that? It's just more criticism and judgment, which is also a lower vibration, which is going to affect how we manifest. So sometimes if there's a thing, a real thing there, and we just try to avoid it and ignore it and think positive and think that's going to just fix it, and it doesn't, and we know it doesn't because we're still trying, right? We're still making these efforts to make it positive somehow. Let's just not do that. Let's just see it for what it is, right? As we talk about observing in tomorrow's discussion and having that acceptance that we talk about again in tomorrow's discussion. Accepting what is first, allowing it to exist, allowing it to be there, holding that space for it, meeting it with love and compassion. We don't have to hold on to it like an anchor that keeps us down, but we don't have to ignore it or skip over whatever we're supposed to be getting from it, whatever we got from it. So if we got a pile of poo from an experience, then it's a pile, and you can sprinkle fairy dust on it all you want to, it's still a pile of poo. Just saying, right? So I kept part of this because don't forget, we also need to feel it to heal it. Check on my journal because I made notes as well on the article too. Something in the article I quoted was, toxic positivity can also drive people-pleasing behaviors and set you on the path to burnout, right? So overloading ourselves even more because we're trying to stay positive. Trying to stay positive and helpful. So we're avoiding all of that, any possible negative thoughts, and continue to be good doers, right? So how do you be a good doer? But by doing positive deeds for other people, right? So just staying on that, which is part of that avoidance of ourselves, which is not what we want to do. So a couple of things, if you don't mind, got my phone, I've got the article here. I want to read some. Other key signs you might notice in yourself or others. This is from Psych Central, by the way. Toxic positivity, if I can speak, can involve a false projection of life as perfect, right? It's in a sense, it's like wearing a mask. It's almost like lying to yourself. If you know that you have certain emotions that are just hanging on, we can smile and try to make it sound wonderful all we want to, but that's still going to sit there until we see it, until we allow it to surface and we feel it to heal it, right? A refusal to discuss problems or concerns, again, holding on to them. So it's different. It's not avoidance if you actually release something. If you're able to release it, that's amazing. Definitely do that. But we're just addressing those times when we're avoiding in the unhealthy way, right? Calling it out just for what it is, not for blame, shame, and guilt, but for an opportunity to heal it, right? Heal it and release it. You don't heal it and release it by avoiding it. You heal it and release it by holding that space for it, by seeing it, by accepting what it is and in its form in that moment, and then moving on to your next. back to the article, suggestions that people shouldn't mention or dwell on bad things that happen. So like having this expectation, nobody else is supposed to talk about their life experience either, because we all know everybody's life experience is perfect, right? A tendency to blame people for their own circumstances. You created it. That's one that comes to mind. You created it. You chose it. Now, maybe in a spiritual aspect we have, but that doesn't help the human heal from it, right? It's your fault. Blame, shame, guilt. The belief that pain and distress happen only to those who don't try hard enough or are somehow flawed. Again, you created it. You're calling it in. You're manifesting it. Again, there might be some truth to that. But if we skip over and avoid the part of healing and go straight to this blaming, it's not helpful, right? Difficulty experiencing and expressing emotions, speaking your truth, the way we communicate or not, right? Sometimes the avoidance means we're not communicating, that we're shutting it down, that we're holding it in, that we're holding back. And then sometimes it means that we're just trying to talk about all these things that help us distract away to fill our mind or conversation with something else so that we're not, let's talk about something else kind of thing. A habit of turning away from unpleasant thoughts and feelings, that same thing, that avoidance. So I'm going to continue on for a moment in this article from Psych Central. So what's the long-term impact? A quote-unquote good vibes only mentality offers a false impression of what it means to achieve contentment and happiness. Realistically speaking, it's just not possible to feel good all the time. Toxic positivity denies the reality of life's challenges and pushes the notion that you have total control over your emotions and experiences as the author of your own story. Again, there's some truth to that. We can empower ourselves to take more control of our lives in a sense. However, it's not healing to just avoid it or beat ourselves up when we can't in an instant just be super happy all the time, right? Excuse me. Of course, that's not entirely accurate. You can learn to manage unwanted emotions and ease the distress they cause. Still, you can't entirely prevent them from showing up. Even if you ignore them, this invalidation usually won't yield the results you're hoping for. All feelings are valid and necessary, Botnick says. She explains that learning to allow and accept sadness, anger, and vulnerability often leads to a fully realized life and a fully integrated personality. I really like that, by the way, just saying. Refusing to acknowledge a problem prevents you from exploring possible solutions. Also, insisting that nothing can go wrong means you probably won't have a backup plan in case of an unexpected change in circumstances. Sudden complications then might catch you off guard and leave you struggling to cope. If you're experiencing negative feelings, pain, and sadness, venting your feelings can help. I'm definitely a venter. So there's more in the article. So if you have an interest in checking that out, let me tell you what the name of it is. So psychcentral.com, the name of the article is Good Vibes Only, the Subtle Trap of Toxic Positivity. There's a lot involved in that, but again, just kind of exploring this pattern of avoidance, this avoidance technique on different levels, right? Because again, there are in some ways that avoidance can be healthy and helpful. If you're like me many years ago, I used to be so stuck in negative thinking, I felt like I couldn't create a positive thought if I needed one to save my life. Like I just didn't have it. I was totally programmed and on a constant hamster wheel to think the worst of everything, right? Probably where my anxieties came from. So learning how to avoid and distract from that to learn how to break those cycles, I mean, it can be very beneficial and useful, right? However, again, there are times and situations in our life that are challenging and difficult and create a lot of maybe sadness and anger and things in our life. And it's okay to feel that. So giving yourself permission to feel what you feel when you feel it is also just as important in healing. So what I found in discord between, in my own experiences of manifesting, is that unrealistic gap, if you will. So yes, you want that higher vibration and you want that flow and you want to really set in that vision of what you want to see and what you want to call in, right? I don't disagree with that. But again, to get to that level of vibration, you got to deal with your stuff, right? Which is why we're here, and which is why we journal, so that we're getting where we want to in life. We're learning how to protect our energy, and we're learning how to set boundaries, and we're improving our relationship within as we're connecting more, feeling more connected with the source of unconditional love, clearing and releasing and raising our vibration by focusing on, not just focusing, but by being aware, increasing our self-awareness, right? Clearing the stuff out, allowing ourselves to feel it and heal it, supporting each other along the way, not through avoidance in the unhealthy manner, right? Pausing as we need to take good care of ourselves, but not avoiding and skipping the healing process, skipping the clearing process, assuming that we can just fix the world, right? Without taking care of ourselves first. Hopefully that makes sense. So a little bit more on throat chakra energy. Then when the energy in your throat chakra is wonky, and avoidance could be a signal, right? If you're not talking about what's going on, how you're feeling, calling out what you're seeing, noticing how you're communicating. Are you projecting some human ego-ness stuff? Or are you able to speak from your highest? Are you able to be loving and assertive, but still maintaining your boundaries? Are you able to address how you're feeling? Or again, are you avoiding and dodging it because you don't want to feel it? You don't want to pay attention to it. You're not ready to look at it. So when that energy is wonky, you may have thyroid problems. Notice that you have a stiff neck, shoulders. I've always said that I hold tension like right here between my neck and shoulders, right? So when that's really tense, then I kind of know I'm not releasing, expressing myself enough. Whatever is coming up, I'm not expressing it. So there again, if something is trying to come up and we're shoving it down and we're avoiding it, then that creates that wonkiness or those blocks in the throat chakra energy. What else? Oh, nightmares, right? If we're not expressing ourselves, then it'll come out in our dreams, which might not always be pretty. Any difficulty with your ears, nose, and throat, because the energy there is governed by your throat chakra. Might have lack of concentration, again, lack of self-expression, having that difficulty communicating, just not knowing how to put things into words, or maybe you're trying to say something, but you've got all this wonky energy going on, so then it comes out like aggressive. Or you're trying to think about and figure out how you're going to say something, but you don't know how to say it, and you get overwhelmed and you just get quiet and you don't say anything, right? Or you get real passive, or it comes out in body language, but you can't verbalize what you're trying to say. Let me know if you've experienced any of those so that you're aware of. So some things to help support your throat chakra energy in addition to this journaling process. Solfeggio frequencies. You knew I was going to say that, right? The solfeggio frequency that resonates with the throat chakra energy is 741 hertz. You can wear the color or use crystals, colors of light blue. What else? Meditation and mindfulness, I think, are amazing as well. The element of the throat chakra energy is space. Just allowing that space, allowing you to listen to you, which I really feel like is perfect in the journaling process, because we ask ourselves and then we listen, right? Really gives us a chance to hear what's coming up for us, whatever direction it may be, whether it relates to the prompt directly right away or not. But it gives ourselves a chance to just listen to us, right? Also in the journaling process, if you want to add to it, in addition to the journaling prompt of what does avoidance sound like, think about the I speak. I speak what, or I say what? How do you speak? Again, think of the communication styles. Aggressive, assertive, passive. Also how you listen. Do you listen actively to really understand? Do you listen actively to just learn whatever's being said, to just hear, like in meditation? Do you allow yourself to just hear and listen? Or is it always that trying to figure something out? What is that? What is that? Let me figure that out. Let me dissect that. Let me analyze that. Let me pounce, right? I'm listening for keywords so that I can go, yeah, that, I knew it. How do you listen? All about self-awareness. Again, no blame, shame, and guilt, right? Just self-awareness, just allowing ourselves to feel whatever we need to feel, release whatever we're able and ready to release, clearing it out, right? Balancing our energy. Again, let me know in the comments how you are doing. And thank you for sharing your time and space with me. Join me again tomorrow, whether it's on the Zoom live or on replay, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Take good care of you.